Who's really dividing the country on race in recent days in the media? Fox News commentator Britt Hume said President Obama is acting more like an aggrieved black activist than the president for all the people because he acknowledged Black Lives Matter protests after the killings of Philando Castile and Alton Sterling in Baton Rouge and Minnesota, and of course went to the funeral service in Dallas and praised the valor, the bravery of cops and appealed to our better angels, added former President Bush. But by acknowledging Black Lives Matter protests, or by acknowledging that people are upset in Ferguson about the Michael Brown death, where he called for peaceful protests again and condemned the rioters, and by saying that if he had a son, he would look like Trayvon Martin, people say he's dividing the country. How is that dividing the country? He had a availability in the Rose Garden on the Trayvon case. People asked him questions. Hillary Clinton hasn't had a news conference in 7 months. When you don't get a question, you can't say things like that. But the fact is, if he had a son, he probably would look like Trayvon Martin in many ways. Now, this idea that you shouldn't mention that people are upset, mention that black Americans have trouble with police in many situations in inner cities and confrontational chemistry, by mentioning that angst, that tension, you're somehow dividing the country. I don't think that President Obama was dividing the country. And Britt Hume, I think you're dividing the country if you want him to embrace a country that never existed. The deep divide between races in America was very prevalent 20 years ago on the O.J. verdict. We had cameras in an all-white bar in Portage, and they were disgusted and angry when the verdict came down. A predominantly audience of color at UW Learning Center reacted differently, like it was a football game victory. No, the divide was already there. President Obama is commenting on that divide and calling for peace and love in terms of our interactions. You may hate Obama, but no, Britt, he's not an aggrieved black activist. He's the president. In fact, you can be both and still be fair to all sides. Those are my 2 cents. My 2 minutes are brought to you by Edge Construction and Capital Consultants. Bill McCoshen, a lobbyist who worked for Tommy, who knows how to get things done downtown. We can talk about this and more on the radio tomorrow at 8 on 92.1 FM The Mic, The Mitch Henck Show. Talk to you then.